crash-landing Lieutenant Marcus Vega's hands trembled as he pulled himself from the smoking wreckage of his reconnaissance vessel. The Nighthawk had taken a direct hit from debris while surveying the quarantined world of Kepler 442c, sending him spiraling through the planet's turbulent atmosphere. Now, with storm clouds gathering on the horizon and his ship's hull cracked open like an egg, he had maybe 6 hours before the legendary atmospheric tempests of this world would tear apart anything not properly sheltered dot the planet's surface. Stretched endlessly barren red rock, punctuated by twisted metal spires that jutted from the ground like frozen screams. This was supposed to be a dead world, sterilized decades ago after the Centauri incident. Nothing should be alive here, except the automated monitoring stations that kept watch over whatever horror had necessitated the quarantine. Marcus activated his emergency beacon, knowing full well that rescue wouldn't arrive for days. His only hope was getting the Nighthawk airborne again before the storm hit. He began assessing the damage. Primary thrusters offline, navigation array shattered, and worst of all, the quantum core's containment field was fluctuating dangerously. Without proper repairs, the ship would either refuse to start or explode spectacularly as he crawled beneath the vessel to examine the damaged power coupling. A shadow flickered across his peripheral vision. Marcus froze, hand instinctively moving to his sidearm. The movement came again quick, darting between the metal spires like a ghost. "Hello?" he called out, his voice echoing across the desolate landscape. "Is someone there?" Silence answered. Him, broken only by the distant rumble of approaching thunder. Marcus shook his head, attributing the movement to stress and adrenaline. He was alone on a dead world, racing against time and weather. But as he returned to his work, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The sensation crawled up his spine like ice water, and twice more he caught glimpses of movement in his peripheral vision. Each time he turned to look directly, there was nothing, just empty landscape and the ominous storm clouds building strength above. Thunder rolled closer now, and Marcus could feel the atmospheric pressure dropping. The legendary storms of Kepler 442c were known to generate winds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, with electrical discharges powerful enough to fry unshielded electronics. If he didn't get inside soon, the storm would kill him long before he could attempt repairs. As he gathered his tools to retreat into the damaged ship, a small piece of metal clattered against the hull near his head. Marcus spun around, scanning the area, but saw nothing. Just another reminder that on this hostile world, he was running out of time. The silent helper dawn broke with an eerie calm, the storm having passed during the night, while Marcus huddled inside his damaged cockpit. He emerged to find his ship covered in a fine layer of crystalline dust, but miraculously intact. The real surprise came when he began his morning damage assessment. Someone had been working on his ship. The power coupling he'd been struggling with the day before was now neatly repaired. Its damaged components somehow fused back together with precision that exceeded standard field repair techniques. More mysteriously, several hull breaches had been sealed with an unfamiliar metallic compound that seemed to shift color in the morning light. Marcus drew his weapon, scanning the area with new urgency. "I know you're out there," he called. "Show yourself." A soft scraping sound came from beneath the ship. Marcus dropped to his knees and peered into the shadows under the Nighthawk's belly. Two large, luminous eyes stared back at him from a face no bigger than his fist. The creature, clearly not human, scrambled backward with incredible speed, but not before Marcus caught a glimpse of delicate features, pale skin marked with strange scars, and tiny hands that clutched what looked like one of his missing circuit boards. "Wait!" Marcus holstered his weapon, raising his hands peacefully. "I'm not going to hurt you." The eyes continued to watch him from the shadows, unblinking and filled with what looked like terror. The creature was small, child-sized, and appeared to be wearing scraps of fabric that might once have been clothing. Did you fix my ship?" Marcus asked softly. No response, but the eyes darted toward the repaired coupling, then back to his face. Marcus slowly reached into his pack and pulled out a ration bar, placing it on the ground between them. "Are you hungry?" The creature's gaze fixed on the food with unmistakable longing, but it made no move to approach. Instead, it seemed to study Marcus with an intelligence that was both ancient and heartbreakingly young. Hours passed in this strange standoff. Marcus continued his repairs, while the mysterious helper watched from various hiding spots around the crash site. Occasionally, he would find that a component he'd been struggling with was somehow improved, or completely fixed when he returned from gathering supplies. The creature was clearly familiar with human technology, more than familiar. Its repairs showed an understanding of systems that should have been impossible for a non-human to comprehend. But every time Marcus tried to approach or communicate, the small being would vanish like smoke dot. As the day wore on, Marcus began to notice details that chilled him. The scars on the creature's visible skin weren't random. They formed patterns, almost like surgical marks. And sometimes, when it thought he wasn't looking, he could see it flinch at sudden noises, as if expecting pain. Growing trust by the third day, an unspoken partnership had formed between Marcus and his mysterious helper. The creature who Marcus had mentally dubbed Ghost for its ability to vanish had grown bolder, sometimes working on repairs while he was present, though always maintaining a careful distance. Marcus learned to move slowly and speak softly. He left food and water at regular intervals. Though he never saw Ghost consume them, they simply disappeared when he wasn't looking. Most remarkably, Ghost's understanding of the Nighthawk systems seemed to exceed Marcus's own. "How do you know about quantum flux regulators?" Marcus asked one morning, finding that Ghost had somehow optimized his ship's power distribution beyond factory specifications. "This is cutting-edge human tech." Ghost froze at the question, those large eyes meeting his for a moment before looking away with what seemed like shame. For the first time, Marcus noticed that the creature's ears weren't quite the right shape, and its proportions, while childlike, suggested it might actually be an adult of its species. That afternoon, while Marcus worked on the navigation array, he heard a soft chittering sound. Ghost was hiding behind a nearby rock formation, apparently trying to warn him about something. Marcus looked up to see a dust cloud on the horizon, vehicles approaching fast. "Company," Marcus muttered, reaching for his binoculars. 3 military-grade hovercrafts were racing toward his position, their hulls bearing the insignia of the Colonial Defense Force, his own organization. Ghost's reaction was immediate and terrifying. The small being began hyperventilating, pressing itself against the rock as if trying to merge with the stone. The chittering sounds became more frantic, almost like distressed crying. "Hey, it's okay," Marcus said, moving toward Ghost's hiding. "Spot, those are the good guys. They're here to rescue us." But Ghost recoiled from his approach with such violence that Marcus stopped dead. For the first time, he could clearly see the patterns of scars covering the creature's body, and with growing horror, he realized they looked like restraint marks and surgical incisions. The approaching vehicles were close enough now that Marcus could make out their model numbers. These weren't rescue craft. They were research and containment units, the kind used for securing dangerous specimens or conducting field experiments. Ghost made a sound that was unmistakably a whimper, then darted toward the Nighthawk with desperate speed. Marcus found the creature huddled in the ship's cargo bay, shaking violently and making soft, broken sounds that seemed to be attempts at speech. "Please," Ghost finally whispered, the word barely audible and shaped by a vocal apparatus not designed for human language. "Not ... again." Marcus felt his blood turn to ice. The Colonial Defense Force was coming, and his mysterious helper, who had shown him nothing but kindness and aid, was terrified of them. Which meant either Ghost was dangerous, or the CDF had done something to make this small, gentle creature fear them more than death itself. The vehicles were minutes away, and Marcus had to make a choice. The truth revealed Marcus made his decision. In seconds. "Get in the ship," he told Ghost, who was still trembling in the cargo bay. "Stay hidden and stay quiet." The CDF vehicles arrived in a cloud of dust and aggressive posturing. Captain Jensen emerged from the lead craft, his containment team spreading out in a search pattern that told Marcus everything he needed to know. They weren't here for a rescue. "Lieutenant Vega," Jensen called out, his scanner sweeping the area. "Glad to see you're alive. We're detecting some unusual energy signatures from your crash site. Has anything approached you during your time here?" Marcus kept his expression neutral. "Just me and my busted ship, sir. Been trying to get her. Running for 3 days. Interesting." Jensen's scanner was beeping more rapidly as it pointed toward the Nighthawk. "Because our orbital monitors detected non-human biosignatures in this area. We're here to investigate potential contamination." "Contamination?" Marcus asked, though his stomach was already sinking. "Subject 47 escaped from Research Station Gamma 3 days ago," Jensen explained, his team moving closer to the ship. "Highly valuable research specimen. Small, humanoid, extremely intelligent. Ring any bells?" Marcus fought to keep his voice steady. "What kind of research?" Jensen's smile was cold. "Cognitive enhancement protocols. We've been studying how non-human neural pathways can be modified to interface with our technology. Subject 47 was our most successful integration, until it had what the scientists called an emotional breakdown and breached containment. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Ghost scars, the terror in those large eyes, the impossible familiarity with human systems. They had experimented on this being, probably for months or years. "The fascinating thing," Jensen continued, "is that 47 can actually interface directly with our quantum systems through neural links we installed. Makes it incredibly valuable for ship operations and AI development. We can't let it wander around loose." Marcus felt rage building in his chest. "You're talking about torture." "We're talking about advancing human civilization," Jensen snapped. "These creatures learn fast, adapt quickly, and once properly conditioned, they become perfect organic computers. Now, have you seen it or not?" Before Marcus could answer, a soft sound came from inside the Nighthawk, barely audible, like Jensen's. Enhanced scanners picked it up immediately. "There," Jensen grinned, signaling his team. "Containment Protocol 7. I want 47 alive and undamaged." As the team moved toward his ship, Marcus stepped into their path. "I can't let you do this. You're interfering with a classified military operation, Lieutenant. I'm protecting an innocent being from torture." Jensen's expression darkened. "That innocent being is Colonial Defense Force property, developed at enormous expense for the protection of humanity. Stand down, or you'll be charged with treason." Marcus drew his sidearm. "I've seen what you did to that creature. It ends here." The standoff lasted only seconds before Ghost emerged from the ship voluntarily, hands raised in surrender. The small being looked at Marcus with eyes full of gratitude and heartbreak, then spoke in clear, carefully practiced human words. "Thank you for kindness. I will go. You safe now?" "The choice, no," Marcus said firmly, keeping his weapon trained on Jensen's team. "You're not taking her." Ghost, he now realized, she was female from her voice, looked up at him with surprise. "You cannot fight them all. They will hurt you." "Maybe," Marcus replied, not taking his eyes off Jensen. "But I won't let them hurt you anymore." Jensen laughed coldly. "Lieutenant, you're throwing away your career for an alien lab rat. 47 isn't even sentient by human standards. It's a sophisticated organic computer we created. She has a name. Ghost said quietly, startling everyone. Before ... Before the cutting and the wires and the screaming. I was called Zira. I had family. I had dreams. Her voice grew stronger with each word. I am not a number. I am not property. Marcus felt his resolve harden. You heard her, Captain. She's a person, not equipment. She's genetically modified, CDF property, with millions of credits of research. Investment, Jensen snarled. Her neural implants alone are worth more than your ship. Then maybe you should have treated her better, Marcus replied. He glanced at Zira, who was watching the exchange with growing amazement. Can you get the ship running? Zira nodded, her small hands already moving toward the Nighthawk's control panel. Quantum core needs 30 seconds warm-up. Thrusters ready. Now, Jensen raised his own weapon. I'm ordering you to stand down, Lieutenant. Last warning. And I'm ordering you to leave, Marcus replied. Under Colonial Code 47B, I'm claiming right of sanctuary for a sentient refugee. That code doesn't apply to... It applies to any intelligent being seeking protection from persecution. Marcus cut him off. Zira, get us out of here. The Nighthawk roared to life with power and efficiency that shouldn't have been possible. Zira had somehow optimized every system beyond theoretical limits. Jensen's team scattered as the ship lifted off, their containment equipment useless against the enhanced vessel dot as they broke atmosphere. Zira looked at Marcus with tears in her large eyes. You chose me over your own people. Why? Marcus smiled. Adjusting course for the nearest free colony world. Because sometimes the right choice isn't the easy one. And because everyone deserves a chance to be free. Where will we go? Zira asked. Somewhere they can't find us, Marcus replied. Somewhere you can heal and maybe teach others about the real costs of treating people like property. Zira was quiet for a long moment, then reached out and gently touched his hand. Thank you for seeing me as more than my scars. As the Nighthawk jumped to hyperspace, Marcus realized he'd found something more valuable than any military career, a purpose worth fighting for, and a friend worth saving. Behind them, the quarantined world grew smaller, but ahead lay infinite possibilities for two souls who had chosen compassion over protocol dot in the end. That's what made humanity great, not their technology or their military might, but their capacity to recognize dignity in all its forms and fight for those who couldn't fight for themselves.